What is up, RotoGrinders? Here, coming out of work. We want to get all technical. Happy Monday! It's the start of 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation. It starts right now. We take you all the way up to lock, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. Both sites, both DK and FanDuel, they did cooperate. They said, you know what? I got a feeling you don't want to talk about the Heat. I don't want to talk about the Heat. Nobody wants to talk about the Heat. For what it's worth, De'Aaron Fox is he's out again with his butt. He's got a glute, but that doesn't matter. That's not on our. That's I guess the showdown stuff. If you're gonna try to chase something, it is a sprint slate, boys. 8 o'clock is our latest game. 8 o'clock, an 8-gamer in the association. Still some body parts that are up in the air as far as questionable. We'll kind of dig in that. Myself, Tim, Tasteful Tides, one of the greatest single entry, 3-entry max small field specialists. Tim, what's up? Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday to you, Dean. Glad to have you back. Definitely missed you while you were gone. But we have a sprint slate now. I mean, how good is that, right? You're back with a sprint slate. Your favorite thing, right?
I do love a sprint slate, and I figured even FanDuel would say, you know what, screw it. We don't want to talk about the Heat. They're a disaster. They're a mess. That game is 2 hours later. You got De'Aaron Fox's butt that was questionable potentially throughout the day, and then Jimmy Butler situation, and even still Miami. That's my team, but oh boy, I just do not want to talk about them.
You don't want to talk about Jimmy?
I mean, what are you going to say?
You don't have any comment about, like, what do you think? What do you think about it?
I mean, this is kind of what he does. This is sort of his MO. He's a fun player. I like Jimmy, fun player to root for. But he's kind of fickle, and I guess he's upset that they're not going to extend him, but would you? Why would you extend? I wouldn't. They'd rather just cut him right now and not have to pay him next year for 40 or 50 million, whatever it is. He's not that great anymore. And maybe he doesn't realize that. He's a good player when he's trying. He wants to be good. And also Miami's in this, they're in the terrible spot where they're not terrible enough where they can fully tank. They're not nearly as bad as as Brooklyn. They can't beat up Brooklyn in a tankathon, but they're still not going anywhere, and they're not one player away. I mean, what are they going to trade for? Bradley Beal, another terrible contract. There's rumblings that maybe Houston, but I think Houston's smart enough to not give away like Thompson. Like if they get something like that,
I don't think Houston's going to do anything with this Butler situation.
Yeah, I saw some rumors out there. That's all it is. But he probably gets traded. But I can't imagine you're getting much for him. What's up, Chad? It's been a while. Thank you. Yeah, it's. I was gone for a bit. I promise you, and as an homage to Tim, I was not having fun. I promise you, I was not having fun. But I am happy to be back. It's been too long. Yeah, good to see everybody in chat. And of course, we're coming back on a Movie Monday. Movie Monday. Very excited about that. And has it been long enough, Tim, that the people don't know what Movie Monday is? Have you guys played Movie Monday? I imagine you guys played it. Yes.
Yeah, we did.
But yeah, same rules apply as always. Jump in the Discord, tell me what movie we're talking about, and you get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. If you tell me first, you're the first person to tell me what movie I'm talking about. One clue will drop every 10 minutes or so, give or take. We can go ahead and drop that first clue right now. Producer TJ's on top of it. And be the first person to tell me what movie we're talking about. In the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. If you're in the YouTube, appreciate the conversation on the YouTube. But you're just getting reps in. Those don't officially count. We've seen plenty of times, more times than I can remember, the official answer being dropped there, and it just doesn't count. It's just sitting there, and it doesn't matter. Those are all void. The only official answers, and of course you can't mass multi-answer. Just one clue guess per drop, and get your answer in the Discord. The first clue, Tim, and as always, I have to remind you, you're always, you can't please don't spoil the game. Don't tell the people what the answer is, because that would be no fun. Sky is the first clue. I know that may help you, it may not, but either way, please do not spoil the game for the people. I did my best to catch up on everything. I wasn't playing a lot of DFS the last week or so, and if I missed anything, please, Tim, feel free to correct me. But you know how it is if you kind of you're out of it from the NBA.
I know, especially with the NBA. I mean,
who is this
tough.
guy?
Yeah,
never heard of this person.
Exactly.
Now he's like chalk. Like I never heard of this person, but
right.
I think I'm on top of it. You know, I did my best to catch up, but if I happen to miss anything, my apologies. Joel Embiid, that's something that's evergreen. He's questionable. He's always questionable. That's not going to change. What do you got, TJ?
Can I give you my film Friday? Can I throw it at you and see if you get it?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. This has already been done, so this is just for me.
Yeah, just for you. But it went all the way to the 5th clue before anybody got it, which I was surprised with.
Maybe because you give terrible clues. Is that possible?
No, I give the best clues. I think that's why. So number 1, wrench.
Okay.
You get 1 clue per guess.
Clue.
Clue number 2, sandwich. So wrench and sandwich. Clue number 3, bop. Wrench, sandwich, bop.
Bop.
Yeah.
Is that a Hanson reference, like an umbop thing you're doing there? And this is you probably did something like Avengers related of some sort.
I mean, people always say that, but I've only ever done 1 comic book movie. Number 4, gossip.
Oof. This is harder when like you actually have to answer them and you don't have the answer. It's a little tricky.
Number 5, hot dog.
Hot dog. Is that oh God, what's that? It's that movie from like the 40s about like Christmas. There's a guy that he hits a bell and he says hot dog. Is that what you're doing with?
No,
you know what I'm talking about?
No. Okay. The movie is Accepted.
Accepted. That's a
Just
college movie?
They make a fake college.
Yeah, I think I saw it once. I wasn't going to get there.
You gotta watch that movie. Great comedy. Great comedy.
I saw it many years ago, and I think I saw it once, and it's good. Isn't Judd Apatow involved in that? I think that's a Judd Apatow movie.
Potentially, I don't remember actually. It was like Jonah Hill's one of his first big ones. It was one of Justin Long's first big ones. Blake Lively, I think, made her big screen debut in that one.
I guess I got to throw it back in the queue because I saw it many years ago, but I do not recall.
One of my favorite comedies growing up, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's one of your favorite like college comedies, like a college.
Yeah, it was in like the Step Brothers, Anchorman, that sort of time of comedies, and it was one of my favorites.
We have a bunch of guesses in the Discord channel. Let's see. We got snakes on a plane. It's not snakes on a plane there, Coach Wilcox. It's not an airplane either. A lot of plane guesses here with our 1 clue being Sky. It's not Eyes Wide Shut, but I like that movie. It's not Top Gun. Again, I see what you're doing there. And it's not Home Alone. We'll drop a second clue momentarily. I did mention Embiid. Embiid is questionable. I suspect he plays. He's on an island day, but you never really know. Oubre is also questionable. We'll talk about it. Just ruled out not too long ago was Asar Thompson for Detroit. You guys caught this. I'm sure you probably talked about this already, but Jaden Ivey, I guess he's probably out for the season with that leg injury, his fibula. At least for the time being, he's going to be out going forward. D'Angelo Russell looks really, really good on DK, the way he projects. He's currently questionable. Ben Simmons also questionable. We'll have an update as far as the injury report in about 20 minutes or so. Midday downgrade to doubtful. Actually, he's officially out now, right? I think Middleton's officially out. RJ Barrett probably plays for Toronto tonight. Just kind of keep an eye on it. He's been dealing with that illness for a while now. Oh, Cat. It turns out, Tim, maybe you shouldn't play Cat 80 minutes in like the span of like 25 hours. Probably a bad idea. He broke down and maybe he doesn't go tonight. Orlando is on a back half of a back-to-back in New York, so maybe they don't need him. Maybe they give him the night off. Definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. Speaking of which, 2 teams on the back half of a back-to-back. Oh, that's Orlando. Oh, I wrote down Sacramento, but we don't care about them because, again, that's not on our slate. 4 teams in the front half. That's Dallas, Miami. Don't care about Miami, Minnesota, and Phoenix. Yeah, Tim, it's when I was digging in earlier today, I was thinking like Triple J. We're going to talk about Memphis, of course. All the injuries there. Triple J. When has Triple J chalk ever failed us? Oh wait, every time.
Well, not lately. Even though I keep fading him, but yeah, he hasn't been lately.
I guess that's the thing. I haven't. I saw he's been smashing. Yeah, and the minutes have been up for him too. It's been obviously he 29, 30 minutes. They kind of keep him down, and like we're projecting like 33, 34 or so. And, slew of injuries there. Ja, of course. Bane. I guess Bane's officially doubtful, but we're assuming he's not going to play. We'll talk about that in a second. But anything big picture, anything you're monitoring? I know I have the if-then stuff up right now, and I think there's a pretty good chance. You never really know with Embiid, but it seems like he's going to play this evening. Island game. Barrett is probably playing. We got Asar out. D'Angelo
I do have one question for you, though. Is why do you keep saying Barrett is probably playing?
Because good question. I was looking at one of our Slack channels,
Okay.
and it's kind of the projection guys sort of talking back and forth to each other.
Okay.
And they always get tweets, and somebody found a tweet from one of the beats that said, based upon how they're doing the two-way players, the three two-way players aren't active for Toronto tonight. So that is a suggestion that Barrett likely plays. The beat literally says good sign Barrett plays because their three two-way players are not going to play.
I'm glad I asked. Because he's been really, really, really sick, and he's been on and off the court lately. So I was kind of thinking he might not play, but I'm glad that I asked about the beat writer. So
I thought you busted me. I'm getting something wrong.
No, I wasn't trying to set you up for something. I was genuinely curious because I hadn't seen that tweet yet. So
yeah, I dropped it in chat too, just in case anybody.
Because Barrett was sick, then he came back, and then he was sick again and didn't play. So I was like, I was kind of thinking he might not play. That's why I asked.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we'll talk about it. But I was kind of thinking of staying away from that game, and now that Middleton's out.
I really wanted to play Manuel quickly if Barrett was out. So
I think you could play him anyway.
You probably can, but he would have been an absolute smash if Barrett sat. But you probably could still play him.
Yeah. Anything else we want to note before we dive in and go do the old game by game deal?
No, we can do the game by game.
All right. First one we have to talk about, and again, this is a pretty condensed, pretty much a sprint slate. Just two games at 7:30. No, two games 7 o'clock. The first one we're going to talk about is Detroit. Detroit is a 224 favorite. They are 224 total. That'd be a crazy number if they're favored by 224 points. That'd be wild. They are 7-point favorites here against Portland. As far as their injuries, we did talk about that before the show. Not before the show, earlier. That Cunningham, he's good to go as far as his knee. Ivy's out, but Asar Thompson, who we saw him start the other day. I'm waiting for him to get unleashed. This is an awesome matchup too because he's great at stocks, and in Portland he loves giving up stocks. But fortunately, he's a no-go. We're projecting it's Cunningham, Hardaway, Holland, Harris, and Duren for what it's worth. Beasley, I think, is still one of the more interesting plays, even if he's not starting. As far as the Blazers, man, they're doing some weird stuff. I don't know if you saw this, but they're very preemptive as far as their tank stuff. They said that DeAndre Ayton on an island game was resting.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. I did see that. Yeah.
And then now he's available. So I don't know. I don't know if you can do the rest stuff this early in the season, but Jeremy Grant's got a face, so he can't play. So of course he's out with his face. The Blazers doing their best to lose, and they probably lose tonight. They're 7-point dogs. How are we feeling about the Pistons? Cunningham is one of the, I don't know, it's sneakier big spends, right? Because I think he's behind, different position, of course. I think he's behind Wemby. I think he's behind Triple J. And I think he's behind Giannis with Middleton back. But certainly Cunningham is a really strong play. Am I wrong in saying that? Where do you have him in the prioritization as far as big spends tonight? Because Cunningham should be really good. Of course, he's got a big boy price tag these days, but he could pay it off without question. How do you feel about Cunningham and just the Pistons in general? And Beasley, is Beasley good chalk if he ends up getting there as far as chalk? I think he will be chalky.
Do you think Beasley's going to be chalky?
I think so. Let's see. Let's give a refresh as far as ownership stuff.
He's going to – last I saw is 28%.
Yeah, 26 on DK.
Okay.
He's 5'6". I think it's a cash game play. I think so. If not your first guy in, but if you have 5'6" left and he fits position wise.
Yeah, I guess if he's your last guy in, but I would prefer playing Russell in cash at that same price, pretty much.
Fair enough.
I personally don't think he's a cash game play. I think he's fine for GPPs. Definitely, he's all about scoring, so I mean that's completely fine. I mean, I wish Thompson was playing this game, like you said, but he doesn't look like he's going to be. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with Beasley and GPPs. I'm obviously fine with Cade Cunningham in any format at 9,700. Other than that, I mean, Tobias did really, really well the other night as chalk at 4,900. I don't think I really want to go back to that though.
A lot of minutes.
I know. It's a lot of minutes. I don't know if I can do that. I'd rather just play Beasley, to be honest with you, or right around that same price tag. I know it's a different position, but still, I think I'd rather do Beasley than Harris. I have really
not to cut you off. I apologize, but the Beasley thing is especially on FanDuel, where he's 5'3". He's less.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
He's 45% over there.
Yeah,
versatility as well, shooting guard and small forward. 30 minutes, despite we're not expecting him to start. He's going to be popular. Cunningham is going to be more popular than I anticipated. I see TJ and chat talking about as well. I'm surprised 30% for Cunningham at 10K, right? 10K, that's on FanDuel. And on DK, 31% at 9.7. Again, you can certainly pay that off, but I don't know if I'm doing that.
I'm personally not a huge fan of that if he's going to be that highly owned. I mean, the thing is, when it comes to priority spending, Cade falls pretty hard for me. I'd rather play Wemby, Giannis, JJJ. So I mean, where am I honestly going to be fitting in? Cade, right? Like, I want to get to at least two of those guys. I don't think either one of them is going to be Cade for me. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't personally like it if he's going to be that popular.
And the other thing when you're thinking of lineup construction, like Cole Anthony on DK just looks so cheap. So he's probably your point guard. If he's not your point guard, he's probably your shooting guard. Certainly in cash. And you mentioned Russell as well. Assuming Russell goes, he projects really strongly. On FanDuel, we'll get to it, but Scottie Pippen looks really, really good in FanDuel. Certainly you can play him on DK, but the price on FanDuel looks pretty good to me. So just kind of the way that stuff fits. And there's an opportunity cost to the big boys as far as power forwards that we'll talk about, right? Giannis, Wemby, centers. So it's just, again, I'm not saying you can't play him. And I'm still a little bit surprised that number is coming in so high.
Well, he is showing up in our top optimal. Cade is. All
right. Let's I ran them about an hour ago, but I haven't run them since I guess Asar being out doesn't hurt him, I guess. I thought Beef Stew was kind of interesting at DK, just at 3.5.
I like Beef Stew quite a bit.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, he can get you a cheap double-double. Duran is kind of like taking a step back this season. I like the matchup against Portland, and I don't know if Ayton wants to play or doesn't want to play or whatever nonsense is going on there. I assume he plays, but just some weird stuff. Certainly don't play them both. But are you okay taking up one of your center spots with Stewart?
I am.
Yeah.
I don't think it's horrible because JJJ has power forward center, Giannis has power forward center, so it's really just Wemby that has center only. The guys that I want to play, so you could easily play Wemby and Beef Stew. And don't forget about Simone Fontecchio too. Min price. We were projected to play 23 minutes. I think there's a chance that he starts instead of Holland. So, I mean, and even if he doesn't, I think at 3K, I think he's an interesting GPP play. If you need the salary.
Is he going to make threes? Can you tell me if he's going to make his threes?
I can't tell you that, but if he does, he will smash that price tag.
He gives up. Portland as a team gives up the 7th or 8th most made threes in the league for what it's worth. They give up 14 per game. What about the Blazers? Avdia looks pretty good, Danny.
I would
minutes, by the
stay
way, are pretty
completely.
good.
I would completely stay away from Ayton. That whole situation kind of sketches me out. Like he might play like lower minutes tonight, since they aren't going to rest him. I think Simons is super interesting for GPPs. We saw him play, up to 40 minutes last game.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's a really solid play for GPPs. Affia would be my favorite of any of the Trailblazers. And then I think that's really about it. I don't love Portland tonight.
Yeah, Denny Avdia is 6'6", and we're saying there's meat in that bone. I don't think that's wrong necessarily, but it is kind of weird to see that price. But 34-minute projection, and all the guys, right? Simon's 35, Avdia 34, Sharp 33, Ayton 32, despite whatever. I don't know how you project potential goofiness. And, Kamara at 32 as well, with Scoot basically being their sixth man off the bench. But the rotation is pretty thin. Klingon playing the backup center stuff. I guess if you think there's weird things going to happen with Ayton, maybe Klingon gets like 20 minutes or so. But it's a big slate. They still.
I would not waste my center spot on Klingon.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
And Denny's a much better play on FanDuel. He's 6'7" on FanDuel.
Yes. Talked a lot about this game, but I think there's a lot of good pieces. I wish it was kind of later, but again, sprint slate, so you gotta. We don't
have to worry about that really tonight.
Eric's asking, Denny's minutes are pretty safe, more of a cash game play. Like you can play him in tournaments too. I don't think he's just a cash game play. I mean, he's got 50 fantasy point upside. So I don't think he's necessarily a cash game slate play. We got anything else as far as Portland and Detroit?
No, I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered it.
Let's give the people the second clue for the get themselves a week free of RG Premium. Just to be clear, you get all the bells, all the whistles, not just basketball, football, baseball, hockey, PGA, all the goods, the Sims, everything at your own leisure. You don't have to be in chat and saying, hey, TJ, you mind scrolling up, give me the ownership stuff for FanDuel or for DK, or do you zoom in here, zoom in there? You get it all yourself. You can just pay for it as well. We'd appreciate that. But get yourself a week free of RG Premium. You tell me what movie we're talking about. The second clue is B, Sky and B. Those are your clues. The other 7 o'clock game, it is Philadelphia. Philadelphia at home versus Phoenix. 222 is the total. Philadelphia is a 3-point favorite here.
Embiid is out.
Oh, really? God, he's the worst.
Kyle Lowry is out.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to skip this and come back? Let's skip this and come back because we're going to get updated projections and all that. But I would assume it's going to be
well, we have an if then for Embiid and Oubre.
Is Drummond going to jump, or Drummond's 4-1? Yabusele, obviously. Lowry doesn't really matter. Phoenix, they're healthy, but they shuffled up their lineup. We're now expecting Tyus Jones, Booker, Dunn, Durant, Plum Dog, the millionaire. They kicked Beal to the bench, and Nurkic as well will be coming off the bench. Is anything sort of jumping off the page as far as if-then stuff?
Well, this is with potentially Oubre and Embiid out, so we haven't got the Oubre news yet, but it would be all of the Paul George that you can handle and Tyrese Maxey. But George is really popping. It goes up, like almost 20%.
He's pretty cheap, and obviously his usage takes a big hit when Embiid's in there. He's 7-1.
He would become like a 9 RG value or DK value.
Yeah, I think that's gonna change things up for sure.
It really is. So I mean, this Oubre news is very important. I mean, the Embiid news is important, but Oubre too.
Yabusele will look pretty good as well. Now that's assuming Oubre is out. I think he still looks interesting. And Drummond, you never really know. Drummond's been so bad. He aids quickly.
I was gonna say we might just be seeing the end of him. Man, I mean, if you just go through his game logs, they are really, really awful. I guess against Charlotte, he was decent, but
Everybody's decent against Charlotte.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah, but he also, like, the price reflects it, right? 4-1.
Yep.
You feel better about Yabusele at 4-3. Also, he's got that power forward center versatility, which is a nice perk.
I was thinking about that. Like, who do I prefer over the two? I guess I probably would prefer Yabusele, but it's really tough because I feel like Drummond probably has a higher ceiling, but Yabusele is probably safer at this point. So it's pretty tough because Yabusele would play more minutes.
Probably. What is the biggest game Drummond has had this season? Because he put up 35 a couple times to start the season. 36. Is it the biggest? Yeah. I mean, 33. Oh, he hasn't had one of those full slate breakers, which you used to see. Like, basically you have to play him when he puts up 40. It has like those 15-15 kind of games. Yeah. Obviously, you take 36, 35 at 4-1.
Yeah, definitely.
Something to keep an eye on. I mean, I wouldn't cross him out. I do think Yabusele certainly helps, obviously, with the versatility. And I'm curious where projections land. And like you said, and I think Yabusele will benefit a little bit more, if Oubre is out. He can at least step down and play the 4 sometimes. But yeah, something to keep an eye on. And now Paul George is going to be. How do you feel about Paul George, Shock?
I mean, I'm definitely going to be playing if Oubre's out, 100%. If Oubre's out, but now I really like Maxey, Yabusele, George. I think you could even play Caleb Martin. We have Drummond coming off the bench. Yabusele starting.
Okay.
So I do prefer Yabusele over Drummond, but I think Drummond's at least interesting in GPPs because he can put up over 30 fantasy points at a really, really cheap price tag. But yeah, I mean, this team now is very much in play because of Embiid being out.
You say we have Yabusele start. That's our projection. That's not official.
Correct. That's our projection.
That's what I'm saying too. I wanted to make sure it wasn't also Philadelphia is never on top of this stuff. They don't tell you anything.
No,
so
they don't. They don't.
You find out their starting lineup when the Philadelphia Twitter account puts it out there. Basically, they don't want to give you any. They have all the competitive advantages in the world, and they're like 18-20 or whatever they are. They stink. So maybe it's not working. Maybe try something else. Phoenix. How do we feel about Phoenix? Does Plumlee, he's another potential cheap center, but I don't know if he plays enough.
Yeah, I'm worried that they're just gonna split each other up, right? Nurkic and Plumlee. Yeah, we've got Plumlee for 22 and Nurkic for 20. So I don't really like Plumlee tonight, even though the matchup just got better.
Yeah.
But still, I think that we've already talked about cheap centers that I like more, to be honest with you. I like Beef Stew more.
Brandon Clark? We didn't talk about it yet. Like Brandon Clark?
Yeah, I like Brandon Clark more, definitely, when we talk about that whole situation.
Yeah.
I almost even like Drummond more.
Yeah. I'm doing a point per dollar. Our best point per dollar play. I know Clark, you can play power forward, is Brandon Clark, just barely over Stewart. Then Giannis, which shows how good of a play he is, right? Then Nas, then Lively, then Wemby. Okay. Yeah, I just want to see if there's anybody else that's kind of popping that anybody else I was missing. We also might get we'll probably get actually, you know what? We're going to get this to change with projection with Yabusele shortly.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, Phoenix is hard to get excited about anybody. It should be a pretty good Booker matchup. He's fully
I was
priced.
just going to say that it should be, in theory, a really good Booker spot, but I just don't know. It's like I don't love this team. A lot of bad vibes, I think, going on right now. I'm not crazy about this starting lineup change, to be honest. So, and it's like, can we play Ryan Dunn? I don't think so. Even though he got up to around 30 minutes last game. But I don't know. Like, I don't think he's a really awesome value. So
not a big usage guy.
No, he's not a big usage guy at all. So he's not somebody that I'm interested in.
That's the thing. Like, if with Plumlee and Dunn out there, the switch, it points to more shots for Durant and Booker, right? So, although I don't really, there's nothing really special. It's fine, right? But Philadelphia has been pretty good defensively. Obviously, they take a hit if they lose. When they lost Embiid, we'll see about Oubre. It doesn't really hurt them if Lowry's out at this point. Is he still taking his charges? He's probably still taking his charges. But Kyle Lowry, the only guy to ever take a charge in the All-Star game. I don't know if you remember that. One guy out there trying was Kyle Lowry.
I'll be honest with you. I don't remember the last time I watched an All-Star game.
Yeah,
it's been many years.
I don't know if you've heard it, but they fixed the All-Star game. It's fixed now.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. They did something. They're doing like 4 different teams and like rising stars or something. They're going to shame the stars in the playing because like the second-year guys are going to really try, I think. I don't know. Ayton officially in. Lowry officially out. I'm getting stuff for Washington. We don't care about Washington. They play tomorrow. Anything else of note here as far as Phoenix and Philly?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. And we'll see. Joe wants to know Maxey or Halliburton on FanDuel. That's got to be Maxey now, right? I think.
I would think so. Let me just double check the prices. Yeah, I would still go. I'd definitely go Maxey. Yeah.
Yeah, curious to see where that all kind of shuffles out. And that's a good segue to Halliburton. We'll talk about that in a second because Indiana's taking on Brooklyn. 223 is the total. Brooklyn is a 10-point dog here because they don't care to play basketball at this point. Cam Johnson, of course, is still out. Ben Simmons officially questionable, probably highly questionable. Who knows? D'Angelo Russell also questionable. No Cam Thomas, Watford. It's a bunch of nonsense there for Brooklyn. As far as Indiana, they're clean, right? They're pretty clean, and Naismith is out, but really nothing of note and nothing new for the Pacers. I don't really like this game. Maybe I should. Maybe I should like some stuff here. How do you feel about Indiana and Brooklyn? Start where you ever want to start because I don't feel great about Russell Chalk, but the price on DK is very good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I should really like Indiana here, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
There's really nobody that I want to play outside of maybe Halliburton and GPPs. But I mean, this is such a good spot, but this is a team that really spreads it around. So their minutes and their usage. So not really a great team for fantasy, I think, outside of Halliburton because he does have a ceiling at 8,400. But Siakam is not getting the amount of minutes or usage really at all. I guess Nembhard is okay. His price tag is decent at 5,100. But I'd only be getting into these guys in really, really, really large field GPPs and getting a very, very small amount of them.
Let's see. Hoosier saying banners in chat saying Halliburton 23 assists and 0 turnovers in 2025. It's a small sample, but good for him. Yeah, Halliburton's fine. It's just sort of like
Halliburton's on fire. I mean, we know he has it in him, right?
I'm a fan. I like him.
Yep.
By the way, hit the refresh on the lineup HQ. We got new projections. Okay. I did run some optimal stuff. Let's see. I have some bells and some whistles and things in there, but second most popular player hitting my DK lineups is now, like you said, it's Paul George coming in at 62%. Yabusele coming in at 28%. That is interesting. And then FanDuel, well, we'll show FanDuel a little bit of love as well. Let's see. FanDuel, it's not quite the same. Is Paul George like 8K over there? How much is he on FanDuel? Because he's not a smash. Maxey at 15%, George at 14%. George is 7.4. That's still a pretty good price, but
that's a really good price. He's showing up in the first optimal for me.
He is too.
George is. Yeah.
Not for me, but again, I added some variants. And
you did. That. Okay.
Just a little. I kind of juice it up to make it interesting.
Yeah.
Indiana and Brooklyn. We also have an if-then on this, right? And Brooklyn is. I just wish we never talked about them. This team, they don't want to play. They have no interest in playing. The players do, but the organization, they don't care. We have a a questionable Russell and a questionable Simmons. That's Russell Simmons. Yeah, they're both questionable. We'll see how that goes down. Keep an eye on that. Like Tyrese Martin's a guy that could all of a sudden become interesting if they're both out. He projects really well if both are out, but keep an eye on it. Keon Johnson could be pretty interesting. I think Claxton I throw in the mix as far as centers. It's just there's so many. He's not somebody I'm prioritizing, but if I happen to land on him, I'm fine with it. I think I'm not going to blow the whole thing up. Anything else of note as far as Indiana and Brooklyn?
Not really. I mean, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with Russell and single entry. He might be, I don't know, he might be bad chalk. I'm not really sure. I hope he sits. That way I can play Tyrese Martin. I hope both him and Simmons.
You want to play Tyrese Martin?
Yeah, because he actually wants to play probably.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, the rest of these guys, this team doesn't want to win at all.
No. Yeah, and by the way, it's just January. Just as a heads up, it's just January. It's
but if you look, 2 out of the 3 games that Russell's played, he's absolutely smashed his price tag.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in limited minutes too, and only like 26, 27 minutes. So, I don't know. It's tough. I probably would play him in cash games. The
problem with Brooklyn is they have so much ground to make up as far as the tankathon because it's not their fault, but Washington, New Orleans, and Charlotte, they're so much worse. You want to get in the bottom 3. Washington 6-27, New Orleans 7 wins, Charlotte 7 wins, and Brooklyn accidentally won 13 games. So, and like they got Utah and Toronto ahead of them, if ahead is the right word. They're 7th, so they're kind of in a tough spot. They got to play some catch up by losing, a bunch of games. But
yeah, we got a question in chat saying blowout risk for Indiana. Like, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. There's definitely blowout risk for Indiana.
Anything else as far as Indiana and Brooklyn? Yeah. TJ's thought. Yeah, apparently this Cooper flag is amazing.
Do you know what state he's from, Dean?
Cooper. You know what? I do because he's from Maine.
Very good.
And the pride of Maine.
Done. Yep.
Mr. Basketball in Maine, I imagine.
I would imagine that's true.
I don't know how stiff that competition.
What were you gonna say?
I don't know how tough it's not like a basketball stalwart. The state of Maine. Best of my knowledge.
All right.
Is Mount Vernon in Maine? Or is that that's New Jersey?
Try Googling it, Dean.
Yeah, well.
Or are you still using Bing?
I'm a big Bing guy. Big Bing guy.
Yeah, you're into the Bing. Oh, Russell's out. There we go.
Oh boy. It's good we had that conversation though. Are they both out? They're going to give us an update on both or just one?
I think
Simmons
I've only
is
seen
also
one.
out.
Oh, Simmons is out. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. Tyrese Martin. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to be playing Tyrese Martin tonight.
Yep, we are.
What about like Keon Johnson, Zion Williams, Jalen Wilson?
I like Keon Johnson also. Probably not Zion Williams, but I mean you could go there in GPPs, but definitely Martin and definitely Keon Johnson.
Let me pull up again. Let me pull up the if then stuff. I know we're going to change it here, but yeah, our if then stuff is Tyrese Martin, 32 minutes projected. And again, this might change a little bit, but 28 DK, about 28 FanDuel. I'm rounding up, rounding down as a median projection. Looks pretty strong. Keon Johnson, 32 minutes, about a 30 fantasy point median projection. Yeah, I mean, it's like we always say in baseball, if a team has a terrible lineup out there, you don't have to play anybody. They can just get shut out. They can, scratch a couple runs. But Brooklyn, as terrible as they are, they're going to score like at least 80 points, I think. Maybe 90, possibly 100. And somebody's going to score, and that's just how that goes. Not going to get shut out, so we can't.
Their team total is 106, probably going down.
Probably going down
now, though. Yeah.
Well, Simmons doesn't really, but I guess Russell.
So it goes down to like probably 100 now. Would you say?
No, it's like I think about 105. I'm going to guess like
okay.
105.
All right. But yeah, Tyrese Martin, shooting guard, small forward, 4K, real standout value now. Definitely, I would probably play 3 of 3 and 3 max. I'm definitely going to play him in single entry too.
3 down, 5 more to go. Let's go ahead and give out a third clue. Nobody has guessed it'll be Monday just yet. I don't think so. My Girl is a great guess by you. Shout out to T. Carter guessing My Girl. I see what you're doing there with B. It is not.
T. Carter won Film Friday.
Oh, well, T. Carter's on top of it. T. Carter knows what's going on. Has seen My Girl and has seen Accepted, apparently. But it's sad, by the way. My Girl was sneaky sad movie. Spoiler alert. Macaulay Culkin, right? It is Macaulay Culkin. I believe so. All right. The third clue, will be scrolling momentarily. Sky, B, and knee. Sky, B, and knee. Those are your 3 clues. Tell me what movie you're talking about. Discord, get yourself a week free of RG Premium. The next game is not especially appealing. 209 is the total there. It's kind of paltry. The Magic in New York. Magic are on the road, back-to-back, set up to lose here. They're 10, 11-point dogs. They could become more interesting if Cat sits. I think there's a decent chance at least that Cat sits. Karl-Anthony Towns, he's dealing with a knee. He's questionable. Left last game. McBride is also questionable. Brunson is officially probable with his calf. Orlando soon, very, very soon. Banchero, he's been practicing. Probably back later this week. But likely not tonight. He's officially out. Suggs, of course, is out too, which is why Cole Anthony is projecting really well. Different where you're shopping, not like a lock and load. I shouldn't use that term personally, but really, really strong on DK at 4.9. Going to be about 50% owned or so. Looks good on FanDuel, but not as like a lock city on FanDuel. And if Cat is out, I guess it's my Precious Achua.
Yeah, it's definitely Precious. Yeah.
So we're getting some stuff opening up. It's starting to feel like a slate where we're going to pay up for 2 of, Giannis, Wemby, Triple J, Maxey, Cunningham. Is that the way does it feel like that? I haven't ran anything just yet, but
I think you should definitely be paying it for 2 studs tonight. Easily. You could do it so easily already.
Paul George is done?
He might be on this slate, but in general, I would say no. But in this slate, he might be. That is such a cheap. That is such a cheap price.
Yeah. But right now, where we're at right now, assuming Cat is in, how do we feel about Orlando and New York? How do we feel about Cole Anthony projecting really well? Again, with Suggs being out and Banchero obviously being out. Anybody named Wagner obviously is out for Orlando. Even Mac McClung is not available. The dunker. He's in the G League team. Yeah, talk to me about Orlando and New York.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love Cole Anthony. He's pretty easy. I think he's good chalk, 4,900, point guard, shooting guard. The rest of this team for Orlando, I'm really not that interested in. It's a really, really bad matchup. They have a 99 point total. So this is a really, really easy team to fade. If Cat were to miss, I could see playing Goga maybe. But other than that, I have no interest in Orlando.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at too. I got nothing else. I mean, it's, and if Cat, do we have an if then on Cat? I'm sorry, I don't know if we have one.
I'm not sure.
Because there's also several pieces, and there's a chance like even Precious doesn't start, like they might start Sims or something like that. But I still suspect that Precious will be the guy you want amongst the bigs. And like you said, Goga's he's still just pricey, but his matchup would improve. But still, I just don't think I'm getting there at 7-3. I'd be surprised if I get there if Cat is out. But Precious at 4-5. Also another guy with the power forward versatility.
Yeah.
Anything else of notes as far as Orlando and New York, or shall we move on?
I think we can move on.
Okay. Milwaukee is in Toronto. TJ's Raptors are 6-point dogs here. Milwaukee has been kind of sputtering ever since the Vegas midseason Emirates Cup, if you will. 6-point dogs here at home. Toronto is to Milwaukee, and the absence of Middleton makes Giannis even a little bit better. Giannis is spectacular as always, but no Middleton tonight. Andre Jackson's officially questionable. Otherwise, they are clean. RJ Barrett, we mentioned at the top of the show, he's officially questionable. It seems like the tea leaves are suggesting he's going to play, according to one of the beats, because all their G League players, all their two-way players are in the G League. So that is the suggestion. That doesn't mean it's for sure. Just kind of take note of that. And I guess the question is, it's not like, do you like Giannis or not? You have to basically put Giannis up against Wemby. I think that's where you start. And if you Triple J, sure, but it's a little bit different as far as the asking price. Do you like Giannis more than you like Wemby tonight, who's just out of his mind? The games against Joker, he was ridiculous. By the way, you just turned 21 2 days ago. And
I know, isn't that wild?
Absurd.
It's just crazy.
They say like the NBA is losing fans or whatever, viewers. How do you not market this guy? I know he's not American, but what they said that's an issue. Like there's too many. The best players are all not from here. But like, how do you have this guy and you can't market him? You can't get people to watch Wemby? He's outrageous. It's a little side note. But yeah, Giannis versus Wemby. I think that's one of the starting points of this slate, is it not?
I think the bigger question is if you just play both.
Well, that means you're not playing Triple J, and you're probably not playing Paul George.
Maybe you can still play Paul George.
You can get 2.5 stars.
It's pretty easy. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's so easy to play both of them. That's probably what you should be doing. You can still play Paul George really easily. But yeah, who's better between the two? I don't know. I mean, it's an amazing matchup for Wemby, right? Against Chicago, who gets destroyed by bigs. I still think Giannis beats him though. So I guess if I had to choose one, it'd be Giannis. But I mean, because I don't think it's a good block spot for Wemby, right? Because Chicago shoots so many threes. So I don't think he's going to get his standard like 5 or 6 blocks or whatever, So I think Giannis ends up beating him. RJ Barrett will play on a minutes restriction. So
Chicago middle of the road as far as getting blocked. They're the
okay.
Yeah, I mean, but your thought process is correct. I mean, they're not like an elite block, but the other counterpoint is like Wemby can block anybody like 8 times on the right night. But I hear what you're saying. But Vooch is going to be working on the outside sometimes, but they're not the greatest like jump off the page block spot. But the other thing is we'll get there. We'll talk about it. But what a sieve the Bulls are inside, giving up the most points inside, and Wemby's now developing post moves, and this is a great team to practice your post moves against in Chicago. So,
see, I have this bias too because I strongly prefer watching Wemby over Giannis. So I tend to play Wemby a lot more. But like I said, it's so easy to play both. So
is that what our first optimal is given? I'm going to give it another.
No, it's not. It's not. It isn't. But
you can do it.
You can do it really easily.
Yeah. But chat, what's up, chat? I see Bob. They're arguing about who the more famous Culkin is.
Yeah.
Macaulay versus Kieran. Interesting. That's a good question. I think it's still Macaulay, just because of Home Alone is just such a powerhouse, and some people watch that every single year. But Kieran is amazing. Like he's spectacular. The roles he plays, like he plays perfectly on Succession. So I hate agreeing with Bobby, but
I've still never seen that.
You would love it. You would
just
love
it. Just won another Golden Globe yesterday, but I think it's a reasonable discussion, like you said, Dean. I was just laughing because Bobby said the reason why it's Macaulay Culkin is because his toddler and his 9-year-old uncle both know who that is, and so that's like
it's a good argument, actually. It's very
and debate, not anecdotal at all.
I'm guessing his daughter his daughter's not watching Succession. I don't know. I'm guessing that's not the case. Who am I to tell people how to parent? But I'd start them young. It's a spectacular show. I would definitely suggest Succession to anybody. One of the, if not the best, maybe the best theme song on all of TV. It's a good conversation. Tim, You got to get on that. I'm going to text you. When have I ever steered you wrong on a
That's
TV
true.
show?
Rarely.
It's
You have though.
Oh, well, never mind.
I can't remember what it was, but it was so bad.
Oh, really?
I'll have to ask my wife. It was pretty bad.
No update for Cat. He's officially questionable, as is Deuce McBride. We should go ahead and drop that fourth clue, by the way, for the people. Nobody's guessed it just yet as far as Movie Monday. Day is the fourth clue. Sky, B, knee, day. Those are our 4 clues. Tell me in, not chat. If you guys are in chat, hit that like button, though. We do appreciate that. Hit the like button, subscribe, free content. You know the deal. Got to keep those lights on. But tell me the answer in our Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium. You can tell me what movie I'm talking about. 1 guess per clue drop. It is not Blade or Night and Day or Blended, but these are the ones that are dropping. Do appreciate the participation. Milwaukee, Toronto. Did you talk about the Raptors? We have Barrett in the half measures.
He's going to be unlimited minutes. I like Quickly a ton. I'm just not sure if I can get to him, especially now with George in that 7K price range. George is a way better play, but I think if you're making out several teams, you could play Quickly in a couple of them.
The Quickly price on FanDuel is less than it is on DK, so he's a pretty good price over there. But he's also, I'm going to assume, a better DK player, just kind of knowing his game, right? He kind of gets there from hitting like 4 or 5 threes. I think I might make a Giannis Quickly lineup.
He does have shooting guard on FanDuel though.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a little bit more valuable.
I do like him, and if I play Giannis, I hate saying I don't like to speak in definitives, but very, very likely the idea would be that I would run it back with probably Quickly. I don't think I'll get the Barnes. I was interested in Barnes if Barrett's out. I'm not saying you can't play Barnes, but I'm like you. I'm only making a couple lineups that I prioritize, and then is he going to be one of my 3 lineups? Probably not. I probably won't play Giannis without a Toronto piece, though. That's basically where I'm at. Anything else as far as Milwaukee? So do we now? I think we're at the point. I was thinking about this earlier today. We're not messing with this 3K Milwaukee nonsense, right? Trying to guess which Milwaukee guy, because Prince is 3K essentially. Trent is 3K. I don't think we have to mess with that now, right? I don't think so. What's opening up? You tell me.
I don't think we have to mess with it.
Okay.
No.
That's how I feel.
No, I don't think so.
Gary Trent returned to Toronto. Come on.
Oh, there it is. Do they like him there, TJ? Probably.
They did.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that. He must be pumped. He must be excited. Oubre is officially questionable, and the Reds are trading for Gavin Lux. Okay. All right. Shout out to the Reds. All right. In Philly again, as always. I'm shocked they gave us the news in retrospect and Embiid so quickly. They usually wait to the bell, but okay. If you're late, you're just joining us. Embiid is out. There are 3 more games on the main slate. Let's go ahead and knock out. They're all 8:00. This game, it's on the main slate, but is it? Well, it is. I don't know how much I've been playing of it. It's the Clippers and the T-Wolves, 214.5. But yes, De'Aaron Fox, he's got that butt, so he's not playing tonight. He is not playing basketball. Well, that game is not on the main slate. Minnesota is a 2.5-point favorite. 214.5 is the total. We have Kawhi back in our lives, and big usage, but the minutes are not going to be outrageous. He's unplayable, and he eats off everybody else. I know Ant dropped a 50 burger the other night, and good for him. But I don't really like this game. I imagine. Well, you tell me. I don't want to presume, but you're in those single entry, 3-entry max streets. You're probably not playing anybody here. You tell me.
I hate this game. This is the worst game on the slate, I think. I think it's even worse than Orlando, New York.
It might be.
So, just because of the prices. So, Kawhi is way too expensive. Harden's too expensive now. Zubac is way too expensive. Definitely nobody on LA for me. Minnesota, I guess I wouldn't mind a little bit of like Ant or Jaden McDaniels, maybe even some Nas Reed in GPP, like large field GPPs, but very, very sparingly. I really don't like anybody in this game. I'm surprised the total's so high. I was kind of thinking to be like around like 207 or something like that.
So let's see. As pace goes, the Clippers kind of middle of the road. Bottom 14 or so, bottom 13 in Minnesota, bottom 5. Minnesota, good defensive team. That they're also top 8, top 9, and Clippers top 4. It's just not a lot going on here to get excited about. Kawhi being back just really throws a wrench in the Clippers. They're fully healthy about anybody that matters.
They're fully healthy and they're fully priced.
Yeah. It's just Minnesota. Dillingham's out, but like whatever.
I guess you could take shots on Gobert because he's 5'7", but right.
Yeah.
He could easily get you 35, 40 fantasy points.
I don't like the matchup for Zubac, but he should be out there at least for 30 minutes.
Right. He'll be out there.
Yeah.
But I don't love it.
Our guy Broccoli Boy in chat says this might be the hardest movie Monday ever. Well, you know what? Maybe clue number 5 changes things. Maybe it's clue number 5 that people need 5 clues. The first 4 clues, they're scrolling right now. The 5th clue we're going to drop. Well, sky, be, knee, day, bigger. I noticed, Tim, no pressure, but you haven't even guessed in our private chat. You're not even playing. You're not even playing along for my own amusement. You're not even throwing nonsense my way. But feel free to guess in the private chats. Sky, be, knee, day, and bigger. That is our clues. Let's see what we have coming in. I see some answers coming in the live stream chat right now. D-Rock is guessing Supersize Me. It's not. Steve-O, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which is it's a good guess.
That's a good one.
It is not. It's all going to make sense. I promise you. It's all going to make sense. In the end, people are going to be angry and whatever. It's not 2012 either, and it's not Clue that was thrown out there. Well, lots of guesses coming in. Let me know in the Discord channel. We'll get you a week free of RG Premium. We have nothing else as far as Clippers T-Wolves, right? We're moving on. I believe so.
Yeah, we can move on for that game easily.
Okay, this game should be fun. The Spurs. You said you like watching Wemby. How do you like watching Wemby against potentially one of the best matchups for Wemby's skill set? 236 is the total here. He is him and his Spurs are 3 or 4 point favorites in Chicago tonight. As far as who's in and who's out, let's go ahead and pull up the old injury report. I'm jumping back and forth. I can't seem to find it. My scroll. Well, there's not a lot going on. Yeah, Torrey Craig is out. Desumu's out. He's got that, I think it's a leg. I'm not sure exactly what his body part is, but it doesn't matter. Not playing basketball this evening. And the Spurs, they are fully healthy. But yeah, we've kind of touched on it. Wemby is, just turned 21, 2 days into 21, and he's on an absolute roll. It's been absolutely fire. But 5 of his last 9 games, he's putting up like at least 65 DK points. They can't price him up high enough. I think he's 12K on FanDuel, which is kind of outrageous, but also kind of right. That's what he should be.
Jokic was 13K the other day, and he still crushed on
Was
FanDuel.
it a small slate?
I can't remember how small it was. But
jeez. Wow.
Yeah, he was 13K, and he still got there pretty easily.
Wemby, one of those players that we talk about those stocks better on a little bit better on FanDuel than on DK. Most players are better on DK than on FanDuel, just the way scoring goes. But Wemby, 1.68 fantasy points per minute on FanDuel, 1.67 on DK. Of course, he can step out and hit threes. We talked about how the Bulls, give up the most points in the paint. They play at a fast pace. Their defense is not spectacular. It's been better. We're going to give him a little bit of credit. It's been better last 15 games or so. Not as horrendous, but again, he's going to be able to do essentially whatever he wants here. How much are we prioritizing Wemby this evening, and how do you feel about the rest of the Spurs? Because we have Wemby at 18% on FanDuel, and again, that's because, well, in part, only one center, right? And he is fully priced over there. And on DK, only 23%. And I wrote about him earlier today, and I'm like, that's where he kind of was before. I'm like, that just seems too low. I think that's going to change, especially now that we're getting stuff open up. It's going to be higher than 23% on DK, right? I think so. Or no?
I don't know. I mean, people really like to play Giannis too. So
Okay.
not more than 30, right?
I don't know.
Like,
Well, I'm thinking like single entry stuff. You might get to 30, but that's a different conversation. I
yeah,
guess.
okay. But I was talking about like the large field stuff. He won't go over 30, I don't think. So yeah, but I mean, this is the highest total game of the night. It's a close spread. Chicago gives it up on the inside. Wemby's in an amazing spot. I still think I prefer Giannis straight up, but it's super, super close. I would try to play both in single entry at least, just because the amount of raw points that they'll both put up is staggering. So you'll probably get like 120 to 140 just out of those two guys, and you can do it pretty easily tonight. So I don't mind playing both. But then I also think like Devin Vassell's pretty interesting in this game as well in GPPs. I'm trying to think like if there's any Chicago players that I would run it back with. Maybe
Giddey
Kobe
projects
White.
pretty well, but I don't feel good about it.
I was leaning more Kobe White, but Giddey's okay, I guess. He seems a little bit expensive to me, but 7-7 on DK because I'd much rather play quickly than Giddey. So, but I think this game has definite shootout potential. So you might want to play a couple of game stacks of this game.
Very first optimal I ran on DK has Wemby and Giannis.
Oh, it does now? I figured.
So Wemby, Giannis, Paul George,
right.
and Fontecchio.
and Gary, my boy.
And Gary Trent. and your guy, not to give away the entire lab, but Martin as well. You can sort of piece together where this is going, but yeah.
Man. I figured eventually that it would show both of them. So
what's interesting is, and we'll get to it, at the start of the day, Triple J was looking like one of the most popular plays, and he's not in it. And where's he coming in at? Is he just getting? That's so odd. Is he not in lineups now? He's going to be in some. He's only in 5% on the stuff I ran on DK. That is wild. Is he all of a sudden going to be contrarian? I don't know. We'll see. But
he's definitely going to get squeezed.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to fall from 23 projected owned to probably what, 10?
I'm curious to see how it all sort of comes together. But oh man, it's a fun slate. I like that. I like how it's all coming together. We got anything else as far as the Bulls and the Spurs, or shall we talk about the last game? They're already talking about some players there in the chats. I see them talking about Grimy.
Yeah, let's go.
You know what? We have Steve did mention Lonzo Ball, and I think Lonzo's kind of interesting for Chicago. His minutes have been a little bit more solidified, and he can get you 35 points in like 22 minutes, 24 minutes.
Yep.
I don't mind Lonzo.
He could be part of that game stat.
Yeah.
And he'd be very contrarian. So.
He might be the best run back on Chicago when you're considering salary.
I like that take quite a bit.
I don't mind that call at all. So nobody has guessed Movie Monday. Oh wait, hold on. I think we have a winner.
We have a winner.
Yes, we do have a winner. Shout out to B Hand 4987. I shouldn't slight you with the numbers. Who would I be? I would be a big old hypocrite if I was knocking somebody for having random numbers. Should we tell the people how we got there, Tim, or no? Yes?
No, yeah, go for it, Dean. You tell them.
Or we could just I'll give a couple more clues, and then we'll run it back in a second. This will kind of get us there. Well, maybe.
Can I give a clue?
Booby.
My clue was going to be the TV show is better than the movie.
Well, that's not fair because they have like 5 years as opposed to 2 hours. So you can develop characters more.
Elite TV show, though.
You're also ignoring the second season.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. It's been so long since I've rewatched it.
Season 2 was derailed because there was the writer's strike and they got goofy and.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it didn't work out spectacularly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the hammer. That is Dallas and Memphis. 232 is the total. Memphis is a 5-point favorite here. High, pretty tight as well. And the key thing here, of course, is like four of the most important players in these teams are not playing basketball this evening. Dallas, obviously, there's no Kyrie, there's no Luka, no Dante Exum just for fun. Memphis, they're without Bane. I guess he's officially doubtful, but we're assuming he's not playing basketball tonight. Kennard was upgraded to questionable, which I think matters. I think I think it hits Pippen a little bit. I think it hits Conchar a little bit. Just a little bit. Laravia a little bit. So Triple J, Jaren Jackson. Minutes have been up of late. The usage certainly gets a big bump in the absence of their two big stars. If you want to call Bane a star, fringy. But yeah, he looked spectacular earlier today. Still looks really good. And then the Dallas side, in the absence of both Kyrie and Luka, we're expecting Dinwiddie, Grimes, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, and Lively to start. Of note, one of my takes was like the Dinwiddie thing. Like he got benched last game and didn't start the second half. Like, watch out for Grimes. Watch out for Hardy.
Hardy's
the guy to watch out for.
Yeah, Hardy's the guy.
So I didn't like Dinwiddie kind of sort of somewhat chalk. And I think he's just better priced on FanDuel, but like playable on DK.
This game's going to be very popular on FanDuel. It's so easy to play over there.
Yeah.
Both sides of this game. So I'd rather play this game on FanDuel. But you still have to watch out for Hardy, regardless.
So how are we planning for this? I mean, because again, we're expecting Dinwiddie to start, but like we know what he is at this point. He's he's a veteran that can whatever, but he's got limitations. Hardy can get hot. He could be a shooter that can get hot. I don't know how I feel. At 6'5", maybe we can just ignore it, right? 6'5" on DK. Think we can ignore it?
I don't think he's necessary on DK.
Yeah.
If we knew he was starting, I would think he would be necessary on FanDuel, though. If you knew he was starting 100%. But I don't think he's a must play on DK at all in any format. I'd almost prefer playing PJ Washington at 6,500. That's way too cheap for him. So if I'm getting Dallas exposure on DK anyway, I think I'd prefer playing Washington.
What about the Memphis side, by the way? Because speaking of FanDuel, Pippen is probably too cheap over there.
Yeah, Pippen's way too cheap on FanDuel.
6K, 6.2 or 6.3 on DK. We always talk about if they're cheaper on FanDuel than they are on DK, they're probably a pretty decent value. You mentioned we talked about Clark earlier, and he's probably not going to play a ton of minutes. We're projecting him for 22. He's a pretty good fantasy point minute player. 22 minutes would yield 23-ish as a median score at 3.9. That's usable, and it certainly helps these power forward eligible.
Yeah.
Lively, we're only giving 26 minutes to, which I can see him getting over that. I don't really love the matchup, but I can see him getting over that. Memphis, the fastest paced team in basketball now, by the way, just of note. And Dallas, I think I was just checking.
This game, I mean, especially Memphis side is so juicy for fantasy points. It's just kind of difficult because a lot of optimals are going to be giving you stars and scrubs type lineups, and this is going to be more in the mid range. So it might end up being kind of contrarian. So getting to guys like Conchar and Wells and Edie might be a contrarian play today. And I think they're all good plays.
Our guy Derek in chat wants to know Hardy or Kamara on DK. I think Hardy's got more of an upside. Kamara is probably safer. Is that fair to say? You're going to get 30 minutes out of Kamara.
True, but I mean, if you knew Hardy was starting, you'd play Hardy, right?
We don't know that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're shooting for upside, and also you don't know where you're at because it's a sprint slate and Kamara plays the first game, so you really can't.
Yeah, you might not have that info, so I wouldn't want to lock in that spot.
Yeah.
That's the only issue I have. I mean, Kamara is safer in theory, but I don't know if I want to lock up that salary spot.
Yeah. Chris wants to know Edie or Lively on FanDuel.
On FanDuel?
I would play Lively over Edie. I think his minutes are more secure.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, speaking of minutes, the Memphis stuff, typically I just avoid this team when they're all healthy. And they have that kind of Golden State thing where they play 10 guys and nobody plays more than 31 minutes, basically. Darian in chat is saying Drummond. Is he starting, or why are we saying Drummond? Why is
I
the news?
don't know.
Oh,
I didn't see it. If it did
yeah,
happen.
we used to get excited about Drummond, but not as much these days. It's possible he starts. We'll see. We're projecting him not to start, for what it's worth. We're projecting Yabusele to draw the start for Philly. How do you feel about Wells as a cheapie for Memphis?
I like Wells quite a bit, and I don't think he's gonna be chalky on DK. He will be popular somewhat on FanDuel.
He's another one, right? That's cheaper on FanDuel than he's on DK, right? He's 5.3 on DK. I think he's in the 4s on FanDuel. So
yeah, he's 4.7 on FanDuel.
yeah, that's really good. That's really pretty strong.
Yeah,
and
he's shooting guard, small forward.
We're giving him 33 minutes, which is really healthy. If he gets 30, and there's also a chance that Kennard doesn't play, just as like a side note.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a high usage guy at all, but he just plays a ton of minutes.
Yeah. I mean, we're giving him 33 minutes and about 26-ish fantasy points. That's DK for what it's worth. Triple J. Let's see. I want to see if we're getting anything new as far as ownership. Obviously, this stuff's refreshing with more information. As we close in, the number gets more refined, becomes more accurate. But I'm seeing 23% on DK. Huh. Now all of a sudden, it's pretty interesting if that's where he holds. 16% on for Clark, 8% for Pippen, Dallas, Washington, 18%, Clay at 16%. I don't really love that. He's really got to get there through scoring. He certainly can. 18's asking about Anthony Black. Yeah, so my understanding was that he was ruled in and just didn't play, like a DMP for some reason last game.
They wanted to give him one more full practice, so I assume he's going to be playing tonight.
Okay,
he's not out of the rotation.
I wouldn't think so, especially tonight where they're without Suggs.
Yeah, we have him projected for 21 minutes.
Yeah, that was a weird thing that happened. Okay, that is the slate. We have Crunch Time will be coming in soon. I know TJ is going to be jumping on. Jim and Roth in about 5 minutes or so. Let's go ahead and we got to give the people, tell them what's going on as far as the Movie Monday. We did have a winner. We shouted it out. We gave the clues, but just to, if you're wondering why things are what they are, Sky is in reference to the band that does the soundtrack, which is amazing, by the way. The band, there's no music, there's no vocals. Tim, I'm not sure, are Explosions in the Sky, are they in your rotation? Are they on your Spotify? Are you aware of Explosions in the Sky?
I am not.
I promise you've heard like bits of them before, like on like documentaries. They play over like montage scenes incredibly. I don't know if they write with that intent. It certainly seems that way. But really, really good like lineup building music, if you want such a thing, or just good background music. Explosions in the Sky. They did the soundtrack this week. B was in reference to what sound does a bee make, Tim? What sound does a bee make? You know this.
Is it a buzzing noise?
Yeah. So this movie was based off a book. It was based off a book called Friday Night Lights. And you know who wrote that book? Buzz Bissinger.
Wow. These clues, I tell you what.
I was going to go Buzz, and I'm like, it's too easy. Buzz is too easy.
That's not too easy, Dean. That's not too easy.
Everybody knows Buzz. You're either going to see, like, you're going to go, like, with the Toy Story.
No one knows who
like
wrote
Buzz
the
Aldrin.
book that the movie is based on.
Everybody knows Buzz Bissinger. We all know Buzz.
Never heard that name in my life.
Well, now you do. Put it in your back pocket. Knee is in reference to the aforementioned Booby Miles. He had a knee injury. His ACL was blown out, and it was a bummer. Roth in the bullpen is not happy with me. That's fine. I'm sure you missed this, bro. And Day, it's Friday Night Lights. Friday's a day. I'm telling you right there. Day. It's right there. And you know this. Friday Night Lights takes place in Texas. And what do they say about Texas? What's that phrase, Tim, in Texas? I'm sure there's more than one. But they say everything is bigger in Texas. So bigger. Sky, Explosions in the Sky, Buzz, B, Knee, Day, bigger. There you go. Crunch Snap's coming in just a second. They will give their takes as far as this 8-gamer. Anything break as far as news-wise? Any lineup stuff? Anything of note?
I don't think so.
Our guy Brandon in chat says absolutely impossible. Well, I'll tell you what, it wasn't impossible for everybody. We don't just like spoon feed RG Premium. B-Hand 4987 got it, so it is possible. Kevin Durant's taught us that anybody can guess these clues if you put your mind to it. Tim, who's breaking the slate tonight?
I was thinking I would go with. I'm gonna keep it with somebody who's gonna be somewhat contrarian. I'm gonna go Emmanuel quickly.
By the way, guy who got the B-Hand who got this correct says never even seen the. Oh no, somebody else said never seen the movie. We should answer the question because there is a question in live stream chat. You get yourself, you get Movie Monday correct. Well, then we'll have Tim answer the question for you. Couple questions. Top forward center spend up. Oh, he's got a lot of questions. So your top spend up on the slate is who?
Giannis. It's really close. It's really close, but Giannis.
Specific to top guard spend up, is that Cunningham? Is that your top guard spend up?
I think it's probably Maxey.
Oh, okay, yeah. No. We didn't mention Lillard. Just kind of saying, we didn't mention him, but he's there. He's lurking. And then Jalen Wells versus Keon Johnson. As far as cheapies, who do you prefer amongst those two?
Oh, those are both really good. I guess Keon Johnson, but they're both really strong plays.
All right, we teased it. Plenty of time for crunch time. We got Roth. I guess Roth's going to be mad at me. He did not approve of my clues. But Kevin Roth coming in, TJ jumping on, Jim coming on as well. Right now, it is crunch time. Let's do it. Roth, you're not happy?
Actually, I really liked the last three clues, but the first two were so outrageous.
It's a build. That's the whole point. It's a build. You know how this works.
You were like, and this band plays this type of music, and this makes this sound, which connect. It was just, come on. Literally no one has any idea what the hell you're talking
You
about.
don't know Explosions in the Sky. I swear you've definitely heard them before. You might not know you know them, but you know them.
Yeah, no.
They rule. I'm with you on this, Dean. I will say the second clue was a little bit of a stretch, but I love Explosions in the Sky, so I got your back on that one. They're
Thank
great.
you. I appreciate it. I thought Buzz would be 2 on the net. You know what it is? I was tired of people guessing it on 1 and 2. I want to actually play the game out. I want to.
No one ever guesses it on 1 and 2. That happened like one time a year ago.
I don't want it happening ever. I want to bet the over. I want to bet the over every single time. No unders. No unders. I don't want any unders to pay out, but there you go. Happy to do a Movie Monday for the people. And, people kind of forget about the movie because the show was so good. Go ahead and watch the movie. The movie's good. It's worth watching. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I think it's I saw it streaming on Peacock. So if you have Peacock, fire up Friday Night Lights, Billy Bob Thornton. But there you go. Roth, you feel like a Friday Night Lights guy.
Yeah, honestly, I forgot about the movie because the whole time I was picturing the show. Like my clue would have been Forever because they're like Texas Forever, but that's not even the movie. So I need to watch the movie.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
Yeah.
We got anything else, Tim?
First, can't lose.
What is it? What's that, TJ?
Eyes closed, head first, can't lose.
What is that?
Jake Peralta, Brooklyn Nine-Nine version of the Friday Night Lights quote.
Oh, okay. It's on the list. I've never seen it. I'm aware of it. Andy Samberg.
Yeah.
I hear it's fun, but I haven't seen it.
R.I.P. Andre Braugher.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we step aside and get out of here, Tim?
I think we're good. Thanks, Dean.
Yes. Thank you. Good to be back. Roth, it's all yours.
Okay. I appreciate that. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. We're at it here on a Monday. Joined by 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. My guy, Jim, in the house. A true hoops head. What up, Jim?
How's it going, Roth? Yeah, pretty good. Said to be back. A couple weeks off. Had a little different schedule there for a minute. So glad to be back. New year. Hopefully hand out some nice picks here.
Okay. Well, that is indeed the plan. We've got my guy TJ in the house as well. TJ, I felt your pain today. I woke up. It was literally freezing where I live. It was 31 degrees. That's like -1 your degrees. It was so brutal. I was like, this is what TJ feels like. It's horrible.
Should we double check right now what we're at?
Yeah, I actually did. I already looked. Your weather's kind of mild right now. It's not too bad.
Not too bad. It says -7. Is that Fahrenheit or Celsius? And Fahrenheit, -7 Fahrenheit right now. Feels like -4. It's sunny, no wind, beautiful day.
Gorgeous.
Where are you again, TJ?
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like -30, and I'm just like, it's not great. You know, there is a certain temperature where Fahrenheit and Celsius match up. I want to say it's -40, but
I think it's
should look that up.
I want to say
it might be -30.
30.
Yeah. All right. I will Google that.
Yeah.
I will Google these things. In the meantime, I need a rundown of what's going on the slate. I've been busy taking kids to ballet and soccer, and so I got nothing going on. Jim, you need to fill me with. That was weird. You need to let me know what is happening here, what has happened, what news we're waiting for, that kind of stuff, Jim.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of value on the slate today. We got some injury news. We got a couple of nice buy-up options. Embiid coming through late as he had been questionable all day. He's out. That opened up some potential for Maxey, Paul George, a bunch of guys there. So yeah, I think it's a pretty fun slate. I've got, I was just watching the crew before here. They're really high on Giannis. I got a couple other spend ups that I'm eyeing, but they were kind of selling me on Giannis. But it's a day where there's going to be a lot of different routes, and those are the most fun days where you can kind of, especially in those GPPs, if you find the cheap guys that are the ones that pop on the day, and then you're able to get a Wemby, a Cade, or whatever, you can do pretty well for yourself. So I think it's a really fun slate today.
Okay, very good. Well, with that, let's dive right into this fun slate because there are a lot of games. There's a lot to talk about. TJ, you get to lead us off. We like starting on FanDuel. We like starting at point guard. What do you like in that spot?
Before we get there even, we just got Kelly Oubre ruled in for the 76ers, and Andre Drummond just got switched from in to out. So Drummond is out, and Luke Kennard in for Memphis. That's less important. But the Drummond thing is a big deal because Embiid's already out. And so that leaves Yabusele is like the only big man left for them. They have Adem Bona as well. Maybe he plays a few minutes. But Yabusele, absolute smash play now with no Drummond or Joel Embiid for this one.
And he's just going to get as many minutes as he can handle, right? 35 minutes, like just the full run, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
That's a must. Okay, good note. Talk to me about point guard, and we, of course, will work our way down to center, where now we may be playing Yabusele.
Absolutely. So pardon me, just got to switch over here to FanDuel point guard position, but we got Cade Cunningham up top, who I do really like today. Sorry, I was not ready for this. I'm just trying to get the screen share up here at the same time. There we go. All right, let's ride. Point guard position on FanDuel today. Cade Cunningham does look very good. He's going to be chalky, but up top, there's nothing wrong with getting there. Tyrese Maxey, though, is the chalk that if I'm playing one of these super highly owned point guards today, I want to make sure it's Tyrese Maxey. He is the cash game play. I think Dinwiddie and or Pippen are you're looking at for your next guys there for FanDuel cash. But Tyrese Maxey, absolutely the one that we're going with for sure. Cole Anthony is solid play as well, but he looks much better on DK. We'll get to him more over there. And Emmanuel Quickly is a guy that I really like here for tournaments. He's kind of expected him to get eased back into things a little bit, and he just went right 30 plus minutes from his very first game. And RJ Barrett is looking like he's going to be limited in this one, and so Quickly should still get tons and tons of usage. And then your guy, I think in large field GPPs, Roth, if Karl Anthony Towns is out tonight, Jalen Brunson's going to get a usage boost, and nobody's going to be playing him in a bad matchup. So like there's a chance you could get a Townsless Brunson for like sub 5% ownership today.
I love that. I mean, even in a tough matchup, if he's taken 25 shots, like, yeah, sign me up for that. Jim, what are your thoughts there at point guard? By the way, I did look it up. Negative 40 degrees is where both Celsius and Fahrenheit equal. It's when the scales do this and they meet. Just a little trivia for you. Jim, what are we doing a point guard on FanDuel?
Yeah, honestly, in lockstep with TJ on a lot of what he's like. And I mentioned that there's a fair amount of value out there today. This is actually not one of the places there's a ton of value. So I'm looking at point guard as a potential spend up spot. Definitely in lockstep on really liking Maxey. the projected 5-man unit that we have out there for the Sixers right now with, Oubre, Yabusele, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Caleb Martin. They've only played 22 minutes together a season, so a little bit noisy, but Maxey is the one whose usage absolutely pops on that 5-man unit. It's almost near 40, and we're probably not going to get a 40% usage game, but Maxey's definitely the guy who TJ said it. I think if you're going to spend up point guard, which I would recommend today, he's probably the best option. I do really like Cade. I like him a little bit more at DraftKings, just a little bit cheaper. There's a little more optionality there as a whole, and what should be a really good matchup for him. He's coming off a monster game himself. Couple of middle tier guys. I don't really want to be on Cole Anthony today. We saw, I feel like there's an idea that it does seem to happen often where everyone gets all over a player for their first game and you see crazy ownership and, without Suggs, Anthony was the guy last game, a lot of ownership, big letdown. It was a decent game, but really not what folks were, hoping for, especially in like a GPP where you wanted his ceiling. And then there's the idea, let's run him back the next time because, everyone was on it last time. Scared off. Maybe some folks are scared off. I kind of am just scared off in general. I'm not the biggest Cole Anthony guy. I don't think he's really that good of a player. And with Orlando's rotation, I think he can go 100 different ways today. There's actually a player later on who I haven't heard anyone talk about yet. I'm actually pretty interested in Orlando. So Cole Anthony, he's not the guy that I'm going to want to be on, especially with his ownership being pretty high. I mean, we saw during the middle of the day, the ownership was like insane. It's dropped a little bit now that there's more value across the board, but I still don't think I'll be on Cole Anthony. If you want like a middle tier guy, if you do want to save a little bit of money here, I think Keon Johnson from the Nets, those Nets guys with all their players out today, they're going to be really shorthanded. There's just going to be a fair amount of usage. He's a decent cash play in that middle tier. And then Spencer Dinwiddie, kind of a similar deal with, a lot of usage in Kyrie and Luka on the sidelines. Dinwiddie is interesting. Again, I think he actually doesn't have the ceiling maybe of some of these other guys, but I think he will be out there on the floor. But again, this is a spot where I want to spend up. And I do think Brunson's pretty interesting, but I really want Cat to be out because Orlando, the defense is still there and they still played at a really slow pace. So if Cat's in there soaking up all that usage, I don't really want to be on it, but if he's out, then it starts to get pretty interesting, I think.
Okay, good stuff. Take me to shooting guard, Jim.
One thing with Dinwiddie I want to mention too, because I forgot to bring it up, like his price tag on FanDuel is way better than it is on DraftKings. Yeah. They were just talking about this at the end of GrindersLive, though. Worth noting that he got benched in the second half of last game, and Jaden Hardy came in and started for him. So that game is late. Maybe hold on and just kind of keep a couple pieces in your lineup spots available for late swappability, just if you're planning to play him in a cash game setting, just in case he doesn't end up in the starting lineup.
Yeah. Okay. Good note. All right. Shooting guard, Jim.
Yeah. Here's a name that I haven't heard talked about too much today. Right at the top in terms of, projected points and price and stuff. Anthony Edwards. He had those comments a couple days ago where he's like, I'm sick of passing. I'm sick of getting double teamed. He goes out last game. He goes for 53 points. Now it was in a loss. So I'm not sure if he's going to look at that and be like, hey, maybe that's not the right route to go, but he definitely, things are weird in Minnesota here. It's not a great matchup against the Clippers, really good defense. Kawhi is back and they looked really good last game, but this is an Anthony Edwards who is going to have really, really low ownership and we've seen the ceiling that he can put together if he's hitting from behind the arc. And he's kind of like, I'm gonna get mine. If this is like more than a one game, I'm gonna get mine. Then especially with the ownership is as is right now, even in not a dream matchup, the ceiling for him is really high. If you want to go to slide in that middle tier, and Keon Johnson again is nice here. A little bit cheaper on FanDuel, but like pretty nice high floor. He's hit 20 points in each of his past 6 games. And in fact, he'll have more opportunity today because there's more guys out for the Nets now. Klay Thompson and Quentin Grimes, those are other Dallas options. Again, with Luka and Kyrie out, there's going to be plenty of fantasy points up for grabs. That's a Memphis team that, it looks like slowly but surely all that mega injury report they've had all season starting to wear on them a little bit. So I'm pretty intrigued by a lot of Dallas players today. I think Grimes is probably the less likely to be owned. So maybe, Klay in cash games if you want to just play it safe. But Grimes is pretty interesting to me. Then last guy I'll shout out in the middle tier, Devin Vassell. He's a little bit cheaper at DK. I like him as a cash game player as well. Usage is pretty steady with the Spurs rolling. They're super healthy these days. And it's a great matchup against the Bulls. Super fast pace, really bad defense. And then just finally, one really cheap option for folks, Gary Trent. He's a little bit better on the DraftKings side of things. That's where he's really popping. But his points per dollar is pretty low, and compared to a relatively low ownership. So it's not like the greatest play. I think there's better value out there. But if you're sitting around and he pops up as a potential option, I feel like sometimes I'll get to one spot left and a couple names I'm choosing from. If Trent's in there, I don't really mind it.
Okay, good stuff. TJ, your thoughts at shooting guard, please.
Yeah, so much like at point guard where Tyrese Maxey is a must for cash, Paul George is absolutely a must play for cash games as well, either at the shooting guard or small forward. With the amount of guys that they have out, you're probably playing 3 or 4 76ers players today in FanDuel cash, same as DraftKings cash, actually. Tyrese Martin is a salary saver I really like today. Malik Beasley I do like, but I don't love the fact that he's projecting for like 30+% owned. Him and Keon Johnson are 2 guys that I feel like probably going to go out there and get you 25 to 30 fantasy points and be pretty solid point per dollar options. I just don't love how heavily owned they're coming in on FanDuel for tournaments. I like Emmanuel Quickly at 6'7". I think he's got a absolutely huge ceiling over there. But this is really like Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, get my 76ers in the backcourt, maybe some Tyrese Martin, and then Beasley or Johnson as a salary saver. If you're building optimally, that's a really easy way to just go about it. And then I think Quickly would be my favorite pivot off of that.
Okay, quick name that I saw here from Javier, Reese Beekman. He says, remember the name. I checked him out on DK, at least he's 3-1. I think he was point guard only there. Any interest in a Reese Beekman at what I assume is Stone Cold Min on either FanDuel or DK?
So certainly not at all a cash or anything type play, but if you're playing 150 lineups, yeah, I think you can play some Reese Beekman with the amount of players that Brooklyn is down in this spot. Played 17 minutes in his last game, only 10 DK points, but a 20% usage rate. I think he's somewhat interesting if you're running 150 lineups.
Okay, good stuff. Take me to small forward,
10%
TJ.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, okay, cool. TJ, small forward, please.
A lot of the same names here: Paul George, Tyrese Martin, Klay Thompson. For what I'm not playing any Klay Thompson, I X him out every single slate, and it goes pretty darn well. Like, I don't really get why he's always so chalky. Yes, they're down a lot of bodies, and no, we're not supposed to box score watch. But look at the damn box score. Has Klay Thompson one game the entire season? 2 games the entire season where he was like, you need Klay Thompson. This dude
He's
is
just
old.
not a guy who gets his own shot and is aggressive. Like, if someone's feeding him he is who he is regardless of what's happening around him. He's not the dude who's going to step up and be the dude, period. That's just not who he is.
Yeah, and so I'm like near 40% Klay. I'm with you 100%. Near 40% Klay. That's the easiest X button on the slate for me. Zaire Williams I'd probably want to save as a cash game option here on FanDuel, where he's only $4,500, nice and cheap. And then, like I said, a lot of the same names. Malik Beasley. You can get to Tobias Harris with all their injuries, but I like him better on FanDuel. On DraftKings. Jalen Wells he's okay. But I like Denny Avdia quite a bit. And then Kelly Oubre for large field tournaments. He's been questionable all day. But Philly's without a bunch of their guys. And Oubre, nobody's getting to him because he had that Q tag. And so I think he's super interesting for tournaments.
Okay, and do we know if Towns is out yet? Because I'm playing Hart, assuming he's got a clear triple-double, but we don't know if
game time decision, and that is a really good call. Josh Hart, 7,900 on FanDuel, cheaper than he is on DraftKings. Nobody's going to get there, but if Towns out, even though the matchup's terrible, I like him in that spot. I'm currently building on DraftKings for as if Towns is going to be out, and so we'll get to it more there. But Hart, Brunson, and Precious Achiuwa are guys that I'm getting to today.
Yeah. Okay, Jim, your thoughts at small forward.
Yeah, I'll just quickly note on Klay. I mostly agree with you guys, especially with the ownership as is, but he has had 2 of his better games with Luka and Kyrie out. He had 22 points in one game, 16 in the other, averaging 15 field goal attempts. So he does get a usage bump with those guys out, but it's not like he's hiding. He's very high ownership in part because of the name. So I agree with you that it's not a must by any means, but I do think in cash games he has a decent floor just because of all the usage that's out there today. But you're not gonna lose a cash game because you don't have Klay in your lineup. So
fair enough. Okay,
There are two guys I'm
Would
interested
be the one
in.
place I would play him is like cash, high ownership. You're
Yeah.
not worried about that. It's just in tournaments, absolutely, like you said, not a guy that's ever gonna like step in and beat you.
In those games, he had like 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Like, again, he's not filling out beyond just getting, a couple more field goal attempts. So,
Right.
At the small forward position, there's a couple of names I'm pretty interested in. I will say Paul George, 100% with TJ. That really, really like him being in your lineup, either cash, kind of a must, or even in tournament plays. He's pretty interesting as well. One guy that I'm interested in Dallas hasn't been talked about much, Najee Marshall. So of all the guys on Dallas with Luka and Kyrie off the court, he actually has the second highest usage at 27.8%. That's about a 10% jump of where he normally is. Now with him, the minutes kind of can go, here and there, but he's going to be coming off a suspension. I think he's going to be a little bit pissed off about the suspension. He got the longer suspension, of the two in that. And we saw Amin Thompson come back from a suspension last night, have a really good game. I think you have fresh legs, worst case, against kind of a tired out, hurt, rundown Memphis team. I think Najee Marshall is pretty interesting. Doesn't have the highest ceiling in the world, but I'm pretty interested in him at $4,400 price tag on FanDuel is pretty solid. Then if we're going really deep down if you're doing 150 lineups type thing, one name, keep an eye on Reese Beekman level, keep an eye on this name. Jet Howard, he played 25 minutes last game for the Magic. Now, a bit of that was because of some foul trouble that was picked up, but this is an Orlando Magic lineup that could go really a lot of different ways. I saw someone shout out that, Caleb Houston's in the starting lineup. There are so many bodies down that trying to figure out these minutes is a little bit of guesswork right now. So if you can guess on a guy who's really low, his price tag at FanDuel is $3,500. It's a flat $3K on DK. So he's even better on DraftKings. He's got really high usage with the guys who are out for Orlando off the court. His usage is up around 28%. So, there's the possibility that this Knicks team, if Cat plays, this could be a total blowout. And Jet could be one of the guys who's playing in that blowout. I think, again, this is not plug and play into your cash game lineups, but it's a name that I'm at least keeping an eye on. If I'm like, man, especially on DraftKings, I can squeeze in, 2 extra really good players here. If I can get a 3K player, he's the 3K player who catches my eye today on the DraftKings side, and 3,500 on FanDuel. Not quite as good, but I'm still vaguely intrigued.
Okay, good stuff. Take me to power forward, please.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson was the name that was popping all day, but now with all this value out there, honestly, I think that. Yeah, I think you see all the little dots there. Those are from earlier in the day. He's not popping quite as much now. I do think that he's pretty interesting with, the guys. Whenever Ja is out, whenever Bane is out, he does tend to soak up a lot of usage. He is not the one who a lot of people are spending up on right now. I didn't get to him in a whole lot of lineups, but I'm intrigued. It's one of those things where, at the beginning of the day, there's this obvious play, and then slowly throughout the day, more and more people move off of it. And then sometimes like, man, kind of overthought it, and the person who was really popping at the beginning of the day, Jaren Jackson, against a Dallas team that's also missing multiple players, is actually a pretty good look there. But I think I'm probably going to kind of settle in this middle tier. Yabusele, it's going to be really hard for me not to have him basically at either the spot or center in every lineup. Najee Marshall is also available here. Talked about how much I love him. PJ Washington, another Dallas player who I'm pretty interested in. Memphis, the pace is going to be up. Again, tired legs. They gave up 138 2 games ago, so there's going to be plenty of points there. He's averaging 17 field goal attempts per game in the 3 games that he's played without Kyrie and Luka this season. He's 6,800 on FanDuel, so it's not a cheap buy, but he is one of the better players for Dallas. Kind of becomes the go-to guy with Luka and Kyrie out. And then the last name I'll throw out, Brandon Clark. He's been kind of popping all day, again, with Memphis, pretty shorthanded. He got 26 minutes last game. He's basically clearing 20 a game. I think he's more of a high floor play to me. I'd probably slot him in cash games. But he is an interesting piece to be thinking about at the power forward spot. Probably a lot more people are going with Yabusele at this point, but Clark's interesting if you want to zag a little bit off that. Okay, TJ, your thoughts at power forward?
This is probably the one spot that I disagree the most with projections today, and I think Victor Wembanyama is the better play than Giannis Antetokounmpo. And so I'm prioritizing Wemby today over Giannis. I'm because of how many strong value plays there are on the slate, and I like just taking shots on random people like a Jet Howard. Jim brought him up. I got him in 12% of my DraftKings lineups.
Yeah, let's go, Jet.
And so I love just taking shots on random cheapies like that. And so I have 49%. Like this is DraftKings, but even on FanDuel, it would be the same for me because the pricing is similar. And Wemby actually benefits more on FanDuel because of their scoring system. Even in a cash setting, I would prefer Wembanyama over Giannis today. Now, in cash, you typically want to play the higher owned guys, and so I understand just going Giannis. But personally, I think Wemby is going to be outscoring him. I have 30% Giannis and 50% Wemby. That's how I'm handling things today. I do want to get to that spend up where I can. If I'm not spending up to one of those guys, it's probably because I'm playing Cade Cunningham and Tyrese Maxey together in a tournament lineup, and then I can't get to Wemby or Giannis. And if that's the case, then I just settle for Jaren Jackson Jr. in that spot because that is a great price tag as well at 8,800. Power forward and point guard are kind of those two positions today where it's like there are a lot of really good spend up options. And even though Triple J is not the spend up that Giannis and Wembanyama is, if they just score 60 and he scores 45, 50, he's way, way better of a play than they are in this spot because at their prices, they have to hit ceiling games. Joey Bryan asking if you can play Wemby and Giannis together. If that's too chalky, that's not going to be chalky to play them together. It's really tough to do. And so if you can find a way to get them together in tournaments, that won't be chalky. That'll be a nice low owned option there. Nothing wrong with that at all. Some other guys here that I don't mind. I like the Brandon Clark call, but I think I would prefer him on DraftKings. Caleb Martin, I think, is a really strong play, $4,900. But actually, yes, I forgot to say, it hasn't fully updated yet, but Yabusele, no Drummond here, starting at the center position. In cash, you're playing Giannis or Wemby, I think, or Triple J. And then Yabusele is a for sure. Yabusele is a must. And then one of those three spend ups, I think, is how you have to do it in a cash game setting. And Yabu, even in tournaments, I think he's probably the best play at power forward.
Okay. Jim, you have any other names you want to add at center here other than those kind of core guys TJ mentioned?
I am actually in lockstep with TJ and liking Wemby more than Giannis as my spend up today. I tend not to weigh these things too much, but Giannis has kind of struggled against the Raptors in the past. Jakob Poeltl is a pretty underrated rim protector, actually. I don't know if that's a little bit of it. I don't know if it's, small sample. Who knows what it is, but he has struggled a little bit. Again, I don't weigh that a ton, but on the flip side, Wemby's secretly been getting his minutes up pretty high. So since he returned, there have been 2 blowouts, but outside of that, he's averaging around 37 minutes a game, which is pretty notably up from beginning of the season. Yeah. His blocks are up a minute per game since he returned from injury. And Chicago, again, it's just a fast-paced, bad defense team. They're bad in the post. They give up threes. They're just a dream matchup. And so against a Toronto team that is all 5 of their players for the first time all season, I'm going to be skewing a little bit away from Giannis and leaning on Wemby. The only other names I'll mention here on the FanDuel side, I'll save everything for DK. I know we're running behind. So,
okay. Is this Toronto starting lineup going to be the best starting lineup of any 8-27 team ever?
They're like pretty solid. That 5 is pretty decent. I bet them on the spread today. Thinking exactly what you were just saying, basically, TJ.
Yeah, like they've been so hurt all year, and now like Bruce Brown is back, Olynyk is back. They actually don't look like a bad team right now.
I agree 100%. They have the four guys. So the 5 haven't played together all season. The 4 of them without Barrett in 45 minutes have a plus 15.5 net rating. So it's a decent squad, honestly.
Okay. Like intriguing. All right, guys, we got to kick it to DK first, though. We want you right there at home to have a massive takedown. So we're taking $10 off your first month of Combo Lite. That means access to our SimLabs lineup building tool and content from some of your favorite DFS analysts for just $19.99. That is an absurd price for such a great tool that we are offering you. So make sure you're checking that out. Jim, I want to go to DK, and instead of breaking it down point guard, shooting guard, let's lump it together. Just talk guard spot on DK.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only big name that
we didn't hit center on FanDuel. And so one thing I want to hit in center because we skipped that one, but a lot of dual eligibility guys. I think just kind of to hammer home, plugging in some of Noto's cash game cores here. You see he has Jaren Jackson. I think you probably want to play 2 of Giannis or Wemby today at the power forward position, and then Triple J at the center position from a cash standpoint. Outside of that, it's really not as strong of a play as a position as it usually is. A lot of guys viable for tournaments: Patatse, Zubats, Poeltl, Miles Turner, tons and tons of fine plays. If there's ever a day to take a shot on a random center, it's today.
Okay. By the way, I hate you both because I had this beautiful mid-range build that I was all excited for, and now my lineup has Beekman. It's got Howard. It's got Wemby. It is completely imploded from what I wanted, but I'm kind of excited about it. So we shall see how that goes. Jim, what are we doing at guard on DK?
Yeah, honestly, there weren't a ton of players who the dollars were too far off. So I talked about a fair amount of the guys. Again, Maxey, I think you have to lock in here. I still won't be going to Cole Anthony. The big name that I think it's a $400 cheaper, and I don't think I talked about him on the FanDuel side. Devin Vassell, again, Bulls matchup. He's been playing great since the Spurs are fully healthy. His minutes are high every game. He's got a little bit of that ceiling because of his ability to hit threes beyond the arc there. So he's got a high floor, a high ceiling, a decent price tag. And I don't think he's going to have a ton of ownership. So I think Vassell is the one guy who we didn't cover on the FanDuel side that I'm interested in on the DraftKings side in particular.
Okay, and that's both point guard and shooting guard. You feel content?
I think he might only be 2 guard.
Okay, that's fair. TJ, your thoughts at guard in general on DK?
Yeah, so in cash, you have to play. It's nice and easy. You go Tyrese Maxey, you go Cole Anthony, you go Paul George, and that kind of just like sets up your first 3 positions there. And you don't have to worry about. Then you can just go straight, and then you play Yabusele at power forward, and then Giannis or Wemby at center. And so that's kind of how it handles your whole cash build right there for you on DraftKings today. You do the 3 76ers guys, one of Wemby or Giannis, Cole Anthony, and Triple J. You get him in there too. So that's nice and easy for cash. But other guys at guard, I have 60% Maxey, 45% George, 30% Cole Anthony. I'm with Jim today that I want to go well underweight of his projected ownership for tournaments. Like you have to play him in cash, but for tournaments, I'm basically just going to try and cut that in half today. Tyrese Martin, I'm getting to an absolute ton of. I have 40% Tyrese Martin. As you can see, I bumped up quickly to get more of his in my stuff. I bumped up quickly, and I bumped up Tyrese Halliburton just because he's been playing really well lately, and he's projected for 1% owned. Same thing with Brunson, projected for 1% owned. Towns is questionable. If he's out, I'm going to want to get there, so I bumped up his projection as well. But it's Maxey is like I have 60% of him today.
Wow. Okay. Joey says thoughts on Keon Johnson. I think we mentioned him on FanDuel at least, TJ.
Totally fine. Nothing wrong with Keon Johnson at all today.
Yep. Okay. Then you get the honor of taking me through the forward spots, TJ. That is both small forward and power forward, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I have Yabusele, power forward eligibility, 70%. I'm getting to him today, only 4,300. He's just so cheap. Going to play a boatload of minutes. At the center position, I did play. How much of him do I have? 9% Adem Bona, just because I'm playing so much Yabusele anyways, that if he gets in foul trouble, this game could just go small and they may not play a big man. But if that dude gets like 18 minutes or something, you never know. He could get there. Yabusele, 70%, 30% of Giannis and Triple J. Then I'm going to the cheap punts. Brandon Clark, Precious Achiuwa, Jet Howard, Simone Fontecchio, Caleb Martin, Tobias Harris, Najee Marshall, Jake LaRavia, Holland, as long as was he starting for Detroit? I didn't even see it. Just a slew of Holland is not in the starting lineup, so I probably won't get to any of him. But just a slew of guys who aren't very good, and Giannis, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Yabusele.
Okay, that works. Jim, your thoughts at the forward spot? Any names that stand out to you?
Yeah, I think it starts and ends Paul George here. I think one thing to point out about this, with Embiid out, there's obviously tons of usage. It's also a very good matchup. Phoenix has been really struggling lately, and what they have been struggling at is their defense. Their 28th ranked defense over the last dozen or so games as they're kind of slipping in the standing. It's really been the defense that's been bad. I am intrigued on the flip side of it, though. In Phoenix, they have all this weird noise going around right now. They benched Bradley Beal. They're benching Yusuf Nurkic. There's a lot of chatter about that being because of a potential Jimmy Butler trade. Bradley Beal just said he would waive his no trade if he could go back to Miami. There's it's not a non-zero chance that he could play a minute and then they could just pull him because something got worked out. And suddenly, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are out there splitting the usage with, pretty high usage without Nurk and Beal in the game at all. So if I'm doing, 150 lineups, Durant's basically not, I haven't heard anyone talk about Durant today. I don't think his ownership's very high. There's a non-zero chance that Beal gets traded tonight and he doesn't even play, and those two guys get a ton of usage. So I think that's just something to keep an eye on. I want maybe a tiny bit of that of those two Phoenix stars, or the guys who would benefit if a Beal or a Nurkic didn't play. Plumlee was a name that was tossed out a little bit earlier. Those guys on Phoenix, but we covered most of the big names. PJ Washington, again, he's cheaper on DraftKings, so I like that. Brandon Clark, 3,900 on DraftKings. So I think again, if you can't quite fit Yabusele, 4,300, Brandon Clark, 3,900 is pretty good backup. And then Najee Marshall, he's a little bit more expensive on DraftKings, but he's a guy who I'm going to be zagging and playing some of him today for sure.
Okay, and then take me to the center spot on DK, Jim.
Yeah, the two names here that popped for me, if you want a really nice cheap option, this was a name that was kind of getting thrown around earlier. Now that there's so much value at the center spot, and I'm with TJ. I'm leaning on Wemby a lot. Beef Stew, though, at 3,500 on DraftKings is pretty interesting. Jalen Duren has just been dicey at times. Last game, Beef Stew got more minutes than him because of foul trouble. That's always a possibility with Duren. And this is a Portland team with a thin front line that gives up a lot. They get blocked constantly. Beef Stew is actually a pretty good rim protector. So he's a decent option out there if you spend up in other places. And then one middle tier guy, not a lot of middle tier guys were shouting out today, but I think Nick Claxton of those Nets is probably the most interesting. And against an Indiana front court that's been pretty soft against centers at times this season, that should have plenty of shots available. And Claxton has been, basically 4 straight games in 30 fantasy points. So he's been really solid lately, and now he's going to get an even bigger chance against, a pretty decent matchup, pace up, and not an ideal defensive front court in Indiana. So I think he could be a decent option in kind of that middle tier if you find yourself looking at it.
Okay, TJ, I saw you nodding along with Isaiah Stewart. Any other names here?
Well, I have so in my most recent build, I actually upped my 76ers exposure even more. So I have 89% Yabusele now. 46% Wemby, getting an absolute ton of him, going to be doubling the field. About 30% Triple J, 30% Giannis Antetokounmpo, spending up when I can. And then Precious Achiuwa, if specifically Karl Anthony Towns is out, I think he's a great play at only 4,500. Rudy Gobert has been playing horrific, but he is sub 6K now. He's $5,700 on DraftKings. So I think he's pretty viable here against a team that will play a center for 36 minutes a game. So there's not really the likelihood of it going small and him getting kicked out of there. And then I like the Kevin Durant call, Isaiah Stewart, Day'Ron Sharpe as potential punt plays today. And then in my mid-range shots are going to be Miles Turner and Goga Bitadze. I have like 4% each of them.
Okay. I love the Gobert call. That price just seemed like I literally loathe playing that dude, but at that price, I may have to build another lineup and jam him in. Guys, we got about 5 minutes until lock. Make sure you hit us with the thumbs up. This is free content. All we're asking for, like, subscribe, share, heart, whatever platform you're on. Make sure that it's getting seen by as many eyeballs as possible. Let's get to the QQs. Rocco Bama says, are we running it back with Vooch, TJ?
No, I'm not getting any Vooch tonight. He's just been so terrible lately.
Sean says, Jim, are we running it? I'm sorry. Is Plum Dog too random on FanDuel? One of you guys brought him up.
No, yeah, I definitely don't think it's too random. Again, with the possibility of Nurkic either, mid-game trade or just they're not trying to. He's the guy who gets hurt a lot. If they don't want to throw a guy out there, if he's about to be traded and twist an ankle and then suddenly the trade falls apart. And even as is, Plumlee should be getting the start. I believe they put Nurkic to the bench. So I think Plumlee is a pretty interesting guy in that matchup, especially now, there's the possibility that Philly runs really small and they don't need as much Plumlee. But the flip side of that is if they go small, Plumlee could do pretty well on the glass. So I think he's an interesting name for sure.
Okay. Jim, I've got a 3v3 cash question for you. It's FanDuel Cash, Dinwiddie, Conchar, and Wemby, or Cade, Beasley, and PJ Washington.
I think I like Cade, PJ Washington, and Beasley. Is Conchar playing? That triple check that he is in today. Okay, I know he was questionable earlier. I think I do lean. Wait, who is it? It was Conchar, who, and Wemby?
It was Dinwiddie, Conchar, Wemby, or Cade, Beasley, PJ.
Yeah, I think I do lean towards the Cade side. The two guys with Wemby, I haven't really been particularly high on today. So I think it's, I definitely like Wemby more than Cade, but obviously he costs more. So
Yep. Okay, good stuff. Jumping into the YouTube, got a few minutes here. Any Keon Johnson, TJ?
Yeah, he's totally fine. I have like 20%.
Any love for Lopez from Javier, TJ?
Nah, no, but I'm not getting there. But honestly, on a slate where center isn't all that strong, you can always get Lopez and just hope he blocks 5 shots.
Sure. Okay. David says, Jim, any thoughts on CP3? There's just a lot of good plays at guard that I want. I don't know. Are you getting any CP3?
I'm not getting as much. Again, it is a good matchup against Chicago, but Chris Paul's not the type of player to exploit Chicago. He's not going to be out there chucking threes. He's not playing super fast pace. So he's a decent play. If you're doing 150 builds, maybe get him in there a little bit, but he's not something I'd go out of my way to find.
I just realized I accidentally made a mistake and put min 3 76ers per lineup instead of 2. And so my most recent build that I have in with only 2 minutes to go has 60% Kelly Oubre, which I don't want at all. And so trying to do a last second plug in to get the proper lineups in.
You do that, Jim. I will focus on you here for a little bit. I'm going to read this question.
Okay. I can multitask.
Okay. Jim, Toppin, Barnes, Kennard, and Hardy. He just randomly said those names on DK. Any of those names you're interested in? I had Hardy in, and I eventually pulled him out. But Toppin,
Hardy's probably the most interesting. Toppin, I really haven't given too much of a look to. Who are the other two names? Sorry, I cut you off there.
You're fine. It was Barnes and Kennard.
Barnes is an interesting zag, honestly, because I do think that he'll get some looks from 3. Kennard, there'll be some decent usage. They're all kind of interesting names that I just haven't had popping over here, just to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. TJ, any Denny Abdia in your lineups?
Yeah, don't mind Abdi at all. I'm getting to about 20-ish%.
Okay, we're less than 2 minutes until lock. Jim, back to you. I think he's saying in the util, Clark, Ball, or Tyrese Martin.
Clark, Ball, Tyrese Martin. I wouldn't go Ball. I go Clark or Martin. I think I would go Martin. Again, I think I would go Cash Clark, GPP Martin.
Okay, great. Jim, right back to you here. Is Jalen Duren worth a start? Did you get to any Duren?
I did not get to much Duren today, I'll be honest.
Cat is out. Cat is out. Cat is out. Cat is out.
Achua.
So how?
And maybe Brunson too, honestly. Oh man, yeah, that's big.
How big of a bump is this? Is Precious like a must play? Is Precious now on Yabusele level, TJ?
Not quite Yabusele level, but the next guy at near that price tag that I'd say.
Part because he's a little bit more expensive than Yabusele, I believe.
Yeah.
I think he's 45 on DK.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel good about my Josh Hart because he's getting like 17 rebounds tonight now. Love that.
Well, I already had about 10-15% of all those guys. Do you think I can get this new build in before how many seconds do I have till 7 o'clock?
I don't know. Not very many. Literal seconds.
There you go. No, it's too late. So I still got a decent amount, but not as much as I would have hoped for.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. I did not. Is it too late here? That game doesn't start for another 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
No, that game doesn't start for another 30 minutes, but I just got like so much 76ers that.
Yeah. I might try to get a little Precious in, see if I've got any flexibility there. But excellent work, guys. I feel very good about my lineups, which is saying something because I came in knowing literally nothing. And now I'm excited about tonight. And I get to watch some hoops and see how things work out. So excellent stuff for Jim, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been